this is one of the most important challenges, the economic crisis, but I want to put that into a global framework which may embody the other problems that others will deal with, such as terrorism, ecology, and geopolitical challenges such as the one in Middle East. My main point, if I can say that in a nutshell, is that we today have agreed worldwide to have a globalization of markets, but we have not yet realized that there is no market that can work without a rule of law. And the problem is, how can we have a global market without a global rule of law? For me, it's the most important point. And a global rule of law, it's needed by markets because you don't have a market that can work without property rights, and there is no property rights without justice, police, jails, in order to have people in position to enforce property rights. But the market needs also more than property rights, need also a mechanism to balance the consequence of markets in terms of poverty, in terms of social justice, in terms of transfer, etc. And then the key question of today is that we have a global market and it's fine, but are we going to keep the global market if we are not able to implement a global rule of law? Global means worldwide rule of law. If we are not able, what are we going to have? We are going to have a global market without rule of law, means a market which will be both legal, illegal, and criminal. And there is an example, if I may go up to a caricature, and I cannot do more than a caricature in 4 or 5 minutes. We have an example of a country without a state to implement a rule of law, which is only one example, which is Somalia. It's a very interesting example. Country without a government for 15 years, the government is outside. And then, what do we have for that? We have non-government, pirates, drugs lords, warlords going around. The real threat of today is to have a global Somalia, to have a world becoming a global Somalia, to have a Somalization and not a globalization of the world. That's very interesting to see that, because we can see also that there are answers to that. The first answer is what we see next door to Somalia, which is what happened on the roads, the sea road, which is going in the shores of Somalia, where boats are coming with oil for China, Japan, and elsewhere. And then we have seen that when a serious problem is at stake, which is not the problem of human beings in Somalia, but the problem of oil tanks in that road, very easily the world, without even decision, is organizing a global rule of law. And we have a naval army in that region with American, French, Italian, Chinese, Indian boats and armies and naval organization under the rule of a British admiral, which is quite understandable, and that works. That means that when it is serious, when we want, we can have a global government. I don't like the word global governance. I think we need a global government for what is really global. And it can be done in a nutshell. It can be done rapidly. It's just enough to say that if there is a political will, we will have a way to go towards the merge of the G8, the G20, and the UN Security Council. Of course, with other names on the seats, but that can be done. We can have a World Bank and IMF reporting to that new body. And that can be done. It's a matter, of course, of political balance of power. In the past, when the US and USSR was sharing power, it was done differently. Today, the question is more between China and the US. And in my view, this global governance will not happen. I'm not naive enough to believe that it will happen. And we will have, for a while, not a G20, because in my view, the G20 is the only a way of hiding the G2, which is the world governed by the Chinese and the Americans. That will last for a while, I think, not very long.